I'm Belinda Weaver, and I am the one.
Hey, Belinda, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for having me, Sonia. This is exciting.
Oh, it's my pleasure. All right, well, let's go ahead and dive right in. Tell me about your business, Copyright Matters.
Well, I'm a freelance copywriter. I'm a trainer. I'm a copywriting mentor, and my business is called Copyright Matters. Now, I started the business in 2009 while actually I was already working as a full-time marketer. And I was offering freelance copywriting services until 2013. And in 2013, that's a significant year for me because I began to focus on teaching what I knew with copywriting courses and offering that coaching and mentoring services. And I still do the occasional copywriting project to kind of keep my skills sharp. So that's like the whistle and dime tours from the beginning to now.
All right, well, I have a couple of questions, but let's focus on this one first. What was the problem that you saw that needed to be solved? And I guess it's a little bit different between your copywriting clients and the people that you teach.
Yeah, so right now, most of the people I work with either want to become copywriters, or they've just started out in their career as a copywriter, and they don't really feel like they're on a solid foundation in terms of their writing skills and their business know-how. So through my courses and coaching, I'm kind of bringing them through the writing skills that they need to become a copywriter,
Okay.
and then also showing them the business and marketing skills they need to run a successful business, because the writing stuff is only half the job. So I guess the big problem that I'm solving is confidence, and through my courses and coaching, I'm giving them the confidence to say, I can do this.
Very good, very good. And I think confidence is probably one of the most underlooked traits of entrepreneurs that is essential to our success, but so many of us lack it at various points within our journey.
Too right, absolutely.
All right. So why did you decide that you were going to be the one to teach other copywriters or aspiring copywriters how to do it?
Well, I'd like to say I found a gap in the market and there were no other copywriting courses available, but that's not true at all. But as a marketer, I was a marketer for years and I was a freelance copywriter for years. So, I knew I had the skills and the know-how. And what I started to do alongside freelancing and writing is I began to partner with other organizations to offer training in copywriting. Like, I was getting approached to say, can you talk to my audience and tell them about copywriting? And when I started doing that, it kind of opened up this world of teaching and coaching to me. And I got really good feedback from the people who attended those sessions. So going back to confidence, I started going, I can do this. This is something actually that people are responding to, and I've got the know-how. So that was actually what led me to think, I can do this, and I've got something to offer that people are open to receiving.
Very good. So, because I think it's an interesting transition. There are lots of people who are subject matter experts as entrepreneurs, or they're freelancers and they're doers. They know how to do it for other people, but doing it and teaching it are two totally different skills. So you mentioned, you started to get the confidence and you enjoyed doing it. Were there other things about the freelancing side of your business that contributed to you making that transition to like focusing more so just on the teaching?
Well, it was probably more of a push from my life
Okay.
rather than my business, because I had a baby. So when I had a little human to look after, I also moved country. I moved from Australia to America. So I had a little creature and I had different time zones. And I was just going, you know what? I love the writing and I love being in the world of copywriting, but meeting client deadlines, or what I felt were acceptable client deadlines, because more often than not, I set the deadlines.
Right.
But in order to offer the professional service that I had built my business around, that had too many challenges with my life at that time.
Okay.
So the pivot actually came from my life. And then I started thinking, well, what else can I do that keeps me really rooted in copywriting, because it's what I love to do.
Right. No, that's good. Were there aspects of your business that you felt, because they're a similar business, but they're still very different in how you run them. Did you have to, because I imagine that at some point there will be other people who will want and need to make this pivot based upon life circumstances. Was there like a ramp up period or other things that you needed to do to prepare you to make that transition from client work to more of the teacher expert status role?
Well, because I've been running a few courses and presenting a little bit in person and online, I was thinking, I feel relatively comfortable doing that. For someone who hasn't done that, that would probably be the ramp up. It's like getting used to actually speaking to people and running group sessions and things like that. Just kind of hearing the sound of your voice all the time. But for me, it was creating the content and packaging it in a way that I felt was worth the price tag.
Okay.
And then it was ramping down, taking on freelance clients.
Okay.
So those two things kind of happened at the same time. I was creating the content and I was also ramping down the amount of client work that I was taking on. And that probably happened over a 6-month period.
Okay.
And it's difficult to turn clients away. So that's the other big adjustment where you have to have the courage to say, I'm actually going to stop the money coming in and I'm going to launch this thing.
Right.
So, much like when I did my day job and I launched my business, I actually did the two in parallel for quite some time.
Okay.
And I think I did the course and the client work as well, just to kind of, at least for the first launch, I was like, oh, if it fails, then I don't want to turn the pipeline off completely.
Right.
But when it launched and it was successful, I was like, all right, I can do this now.
Okay.
Then I can cut the work off.
Okay. All right. No, that's a good point, because I think some people might be tempted to try and do both for a longer period of time. But yeah, I imagine that could be difficult running two and balancing the two.
Yeah, well, I think you can run into the potential that you don't do either very well, or to a point where it's profitable. I mean, running courses, people say, oh, it's this passive income and you can retire to a beach in Mexico, and it's not like that at all.
No.
But if you try and do too much, you end up doing nothing very well. So I think you have to commit, 100% at some point.
All right. Well, let's transition a little bit to more of your experiences as an entrepreneur. So tell me about, and this can be with either of the different phases of your business, about the biggest barrier in mindset that you had to deal with that sort of limited your success or progression, and how did you overcome it?
Well, I think it's an ongoing barrier, but it's a particularly huge barrier when you're just starting out. So when I was just starting out as a copywriter and when I was just starting out as a trainer, coach, and mentor. And that's the barrier of comparison to others. So it's really hard not to compare your in progress or haven't even started to someone's finished, rocking it, been doing this for a long time. But it's a really dangerous process to get into, because if you start thinking, I'm not going to be successful until I look like her, or I earn this much money, or I, have this many clients, or I have a membership platform, or I have a course, or like that's what success looks like. Now, I'd like to counter that. Like, I think it's essential to have goals and have a vision of what you think your success looks like. But in terms of barriers to mindset that you have to overcome, or I've had to overcome all the time, it's looking at other people and going, oh, they've got it made. Like, that's what success looks like. And I'm terrible. I'm never going to get there. So it's that kind of self-sabotaging mindset that I've just become, I think I've become better at running my own race.
Okay.
So I'm always saying, as soon as I start kind of looking sideways, going, oh, look what they're doing. Oh my God, like another presentation, or they've done their membership platform, or whatever it is, and it's people around the world. Whenever I feel myself doing that, I always think, Belinda, run your own race. And my own little mantra is just be more awesome, because I can control what I do.
Right.
And I have to, people, because what you don't realize is that that person who looks like they're killing it is a mess behind the scenes. In the same way, we're all a mess behind the scenes, right?
Right.
We have our social media PR view of our life. And so you have to keep that into perspective and remind yourself that hopefully you're doing whatever you can do to be the best you, which sounds really woo-woo, but you have to really believe that if you're not going to self-sabotage by constantly comparing yourself to others.
Absolutely. This runs rampant in entrepreneurship. I've had to deal with myself as well. Was there a turning point where you recognize, oh gosh, Belinda, I've just got to stop this right now? Like, was there something that happened that sort of snaps you out of, like, that made you more aware that this wasn't serving you?
It was probably the first time I burned out as a freelance copywriter. And I've burned out heaps of times where, and when I say burnout, I just mean like I've taken on too much work and I've worked too hard for too long, and I haven't filled my own cup, because you can't keep drawing resources from yourself without taking time for yourself. And I would regularly go through phases where I would be thinking, well, I've got to just keep on I can't say no to clients. I've got to just keep on taking the work while it's there. It can happen with courses. You think, oh, I'll let a few more people in. I need to earn more money. I need to let more people in. But then you would get swamped and you're not serving anyone very well.
Right.
And so I think the first time was that first, like, oh my gosh, I'm working all the hours I can possibly work. I don't actually think the quality of my work is serving me very well, serving my clients very well. Is this what success looks like?
Right.
And if this is what success looks like, I don't think I like it.
Right.
So that was probably that big pivot where I just went, oh no, I think I really need to redefine what this looks like for me.
So how have you, do you have to reevaluate your what success looks like goals periodically, or do you kind of have like a vision burned in your head that you're working towards?
No, I reevaluate constantly because I'm constantly being exposed to new people and ideas and things like that where I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. Oh, I should do that too. Not in a kind of copying way, but, I remember like years ago, I never would have thought of running a membership platform because I wasn't ready then.
Okay.
But now my business has evolved to a point where I'm like, oh, I have a community around my courses, and that's the next step for me.
Okay.
So I think you have to constantly push your horizon back.
Okay.
And, hopefully you have this awesome view of like, yes, ultimately I'm going to get to this point.
Right.
But there are so many things for me that happen along the way that I like to think that can change. And so I don't like to be too rigid in the direction that I'm going.
Very good. Very good. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about habits. I imagine when you're managing clients, managing their deadlines, and now whenever you are teaching other people and managing and wrangling them, that
yeah, a lot of wrangling.
Yeah, in addition to your own life, are there any habits or suite of habits that you have that keep you sane, that allow you to get the work done at a high quality without burning out?
I'd say probably the biggest one is making time for myself.
Okay.
So we all talk about work-life balance and how important it is and stuff like that. But when you really love what you do, it's hard not to be really hungry for it.
Right.
So it's really important to go, okay, I need to stop now. I need to take some time. I need to have some hobbies so that, because it was really easy for me to just love what I did so much that I lost connection with anything else. And people would say, well, apart from work, what do you do? I'd be like, I I don't really know. So, me, the habit is making time for myself. And part of that for me is my morning ritual. So
Okay.
I wake up before my preacher. Because I spend so much time giving of myself to others, to my family, to my students, to my clients, that I need time for myself, just so I can stay sane. So I get up an hour early before the rest of the house wakes up. I write my morning pages, which I'm pretty sure is something we talked about at the conference. But that's just kind of basically clearing my head, and I just write whatever comes to mind for 3 pages or 15 minutes. And then I meditate for 15 to 20 minutes.
Okay.
And I enjoy a hot cup of tea to the end. And then the rest of the house starts to wake up. So part of making time for myself is that little morning ritual. And part of it's having no work weekends for at least 75% of the weekend.
Okay.
because I like to hit Monday knowing exactly what I'm doing. So I often, maybe on Sunday afternoon, kind of going, right, let's look at the to-do list. What have I got for tomorrow?
Right.
And in terms of managing my to-do list, I'm very strict on only putting enough things on my list that I can actually humanly do in the time I have available.
Right.
Because otherwise you end up at the end of the day feeling like a failure because you actually put 5 days worth of work into one day.
Right.
And it's not possible. So, sometimes on a Sunday afternoon, I'm like, right, so what does Monday look like? And it means when I get up, I can just kind of flow straight into it.
Very good. All right, you said so many cool things there. So, but one of the things that kind of piqued my ear was no work weekends. Because I think a lot of times you hear the concept of hustling, and how much you work for entrepreneurs sometimes be touted as a badge of honor.
Oh, yeah.
And if your business isn't necessarily at a place to where you're comfortable financially, you might feel like you have to do it. Was there a point at your business at what point did you say no work weekends? Was it did you already feel comfortable in where you were and what you were producing that you were able to afford doing that? Or do you feel like you're able to get your business to where it is because you don't work on the weekends?
I think if I'm being quite honest, it's probably the former.
Okay.
I got to a point where I was like, you know what? I have got enough business coming in that I am doing more than enough work during the week that I don't have to do that same pace on the weekend.
Okay.
And even sometimes I still do some work on the weekends just through time zones, and I want to, I know Australia's a day ahead. So sometimes I just want to throw some things out there. So Australia's Monday is taken care of while I can enjoy my Sunday. But I try and make that the exception rather than the rule.
Okay.
Because now with my business, I can serve my community better because of the no work weekends.
Okay.
So it's not something I was confident or comfortable enough to do in the early years, but it's definitely, I think people should keep it on their radar, because
Absolutely.
I talked about keeping your own cup full and stuff like that. You can produce better work if you're not working all the time.
Absolutely. How do you stay on top of managing what it is that your customers need and want from you while not letting it, they're always going to take as much as they can take from you, right? So how do you create the appropriate boundaries while being able to deliver and delight them with what you're giving them?
Well, I think what you said there is exactly right. People will take what you let them take from you. So for me, for my copywriting students of my course, tell them, when you post work for me to review, I will respond within 3 to 4 days.
Okay.
And that's something I say from the get-go, and I say frequently throughout the course.
Okay.
And that to me just sets the expectations. Like, don't sit there refreshing your screen every hour, because there are time zones. I have a life. Some of the work just takes a long time to review.
Right.
I will, but I will respond within 3 or 4 days. And what I also do is I acknowledge people's contact.
Okay.
Where I sort of go, I just want to let you know I've seen your email or I've seen your work,
Okay.
and I will be responding within this time frame. For my contact form on my website, I have a little auto message to say, I just want to let you know I've got this, and I will reply within 48 hours.
Okay.
So for me, putting little messages out there with time frames reduces the sense of anxiety people have around getting in touch, because we all do it. We all kind of go, submit. Did they get that? I bet it's in the spam folder. Should I call? And you start having this little, play where you tell yourself a different story. And in actual fact, they just haven't logged on yet. And it's all perfectly fine.
Right.
So I try and reduce that, but I also don't let people think that I'm going to be replying within 2 hours.
Got it.
And even when I was freelancing full time, I would never reply to an email within the first 4 hours.
Okay.
I might draft a reply, and then I would have like different plugins and add-ons and things like that wouldn't let me send emails back, because it trained people to expect an immediate reply.
Yeah. That's a good
And
one.
that's just a rod for your own back.
Definitely. All right. So what would you say you've learned over the years as a freelancer and trainer and teacher coach are your 3 keys to success?
I think the first one is believing in myself. Like once I got into copywriting, and so once I found the thing that lit a fire in my belly, I was like, okay, this is my thing, and I know I can do this. So finding the right thing that gives you certainty around what it is I think that's the first bit. And people might talk about that as being like, find the thing you're passionate in or whatever. But the feeling where you go, this is the thing that is mine, and I own this. Even if I have to learn how to market it, or even if I have to learn how to do this, or even if I have to learn 10 other things, this is the thing that I own.
Okay.
And then the second one I'd probably say is always be learning. So there's always stuff to learn. Marketing and online world and stuff, it's all changing all the time. So I think you've got to have a mindset of being open to see lessons in what other people are doing. And there's so much free content out there, going to conferences. You've got to always be open to those kind of things. And then the last thing is being open to opportunities. Because I've been told many times over the years, you're so lucky. You're so lucky. You got to finish your job and start a freelance business, and now you have a child, and you're so lucky that you get to work from home, and you're so lucky. And it's like, that's bull, because luck has nothing to do with it. It actually makes me really angry, because I worked damn hard for everything that I've got. But what I do is I listen, and I'm open to opportunities. And so when you're paying attention to the opportunities that are around you, and you're prepared to say yes, even if it makes you a little bit afraid, that's when things happen.
Absolutely.
And that loops back to not being too focused on your target, that you blinker out the other things that are coming up.
Very good. Very good. Belinda, this has been just lovely. Thank you so much for coming by. Where can people find you?
On the internet, of course. So my website's probably the main hub, and that's copyrightmatters.com.
Okay.
And that's got all my social media links, information about my courses. There's a free course. There's my blog. I actually have tons of free content on my website. Okay. But then probably then is Facebook.
Okay.
Aren't we all on Facebook? Facebook and Twitter are probably my 2 favorite social media platforms.
All right. Well, I'll have a link to all that in the show notes.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Sonia. That were great questions.
Oh, thank you. All right. Well, before I let you go, I do have one more, and that's to deliver a line from a movie that sticks out to you and explain why you chose it.
Well, it's actually a line from a book.
Totally okay.
Because, it's not that I don't love watching movies, but it was actually when I think about my favorite stories, I always tend to go back to the books that I read all, over and over again. And one of my favorite stories is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Now, it's not that I had a quote that just went, oh, this is it. But when I was kind of looking through quotes from the story, this one actually stood out quite a lot. And the quote is, "Life appears to me too short to be spent nursing animosity or registering wrongs." And going back to kind of what we talked about is looking after yourself in terms of serving your community and not comparing yourself to others, because you can just get into a cycle of self-sabotage. This quote is kind of another aspect of, I guess, what I call my life rules, where don't compare yourself to others. I don't do, one of our household rules is no negative self-talk, because the story you tell yourself is the script you write for how other people see you as well. And so I just love this idea that life is too short to be harboring negative emotions and negative feelings towards others and having some kind of tally of what wrongdoings other people have done. I think you've got to concentrate on your own game, run your own race, and just be more awesome.
Very good. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. I do like it. And I think it's great that we have to keep that sort of like, don't take yourself so seriously,
right?
Approach to our business. Because otherwise we'll like run ourselves ragged, which drive ourselves crazy.
Yes, absolutely. And it's something I often say to my students, actually. We're copywriters. We're not surgeons. We're running a business. We're not saving children. We have to keep it into perspective.
Yeah, very good. Thank you again, Belinda. This has been loads of fun.
Thank you, Sonia.